I don't speak very much Japanese. I mean, you could pretty much eat out every night and still probably spend like less than $15 a day. Things are a lot cheaper than you'd expect.
Hi, please tell us your name and where you're from.
Hey, I'm Neil Goldberg and I'm from Denver, Colorado in the US.
And what brings you all the way down here to Japan, man?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing a study abroad, like an exchange from my university in Utrecht in the Netherlands, like a little outside Amsterdam. And I'm doing an exchange up in Tokyo at Waseda University.
Cool. How long you been here?
I think I've been here since mid-February or something like that. I came out like a little early to do some snowboarding in Niigata and Hokkaido, which is super, super sick.
And what are your first impressions about Japan? What do you like?
Yeah, I think everything kind of works here very well. Like they've got things kind of planned out and structured, like maybe a little better than the US sometimes, especially like I see the public transportation, like at least coming from the suburbs in Denver, like being able to get around like that, super, super simple. Also the food is incredible. It's really, really nice.
Speaking of coming from the suburbs down here to Japan, what are like some culture shock that you experienced?
I think the way people interact maybe socially is a little bit different from the US. Like I think in the US you can get a little bit more of like maybe some people call it fake or small talk or something like that. Some like kind of hospitality here that I feel like doesn't exist as much. Like people are very polite but maybe aren't trying to make all the small talk. So I'll find myself like kind of rambling on a little bit when someone is maybe not used to it or trying to do that as much. I also think the history's been really shocking. I mean, I've spent, I think now the last 2 years around Europe, mostly in Amsterdam, but I was also doing some traveling, like some Eurailing or Interrailing around the continent. And I found a lot of really cool historical stuff there. But, growing up in the US, I think Denver has like 200 years of history maybe. And here you'll find this temple from like the 500s. It's insane.
It's crazy. All right. Any dislikes so far?
Yeah, I think sometimes people can be maybe a little hard to meet here. Like, I'll try and be a little extroverted and try to, you know, reach out to somebody and maybe I'll get just this like kind of polite or like small response back that's just like, I'm not really trying to interact right now. But I think maybe for an American coming here, especially like more extroverted, that's kind of just to be expected. It's like people interact differently socially here. So you kind of just have to take that when you're in a foreign country and like, you know, respond well.
I understand. When you say a little bit difficult to me, are you talking about dating somebody or?
I mean, I guess maybe dating. A part of it's the language because I don't speak very much Japanese, which I think has an impact. I don't know how much you speak, so you might be able to.
Zero.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Just know 2 words. Arigato and konnichiwa.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm taking like 3 Japanese classes at Waseda, so I'm getting pretty quickly. I'm getting better, but yeah, I think the language can be tough, but also just like even talking to people, like I'll be in a class at Waseda and I'm like trying to make a little small talk and everyone just responds like, yep, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like no one's trying to chat right now.
I hear you. And what about long-term plans? Do you think you'll consider staying here longer? Do you think it's just like a stopover for you? Any ideas?
Yeah, I don't know. I've really thought about it. Like right now I'm really interested in working in something in like the political kind of realm. I'm very interested in politics and all that. And so I think I'd have to be able to find something that could like accommodate some of that stuff here, which would maybe be a little harder because I don't really know a lot of the situation here. And especially spending a lot of time in Amsterdam now, like I'm kind of thinking about the places I can adjust to a little bit better around the world. Like there's some things I like about life in Europe that, you know, maybe is more for me than America. Like I really appreciate being able to bike everywhere and not having to drive like half an hour to get anywhere. And in here I think there's some similar stuff, but then maybe I think some of the social kind of stuff I've been talking about keeps me from saying I could stay here long term. So I'd say like I'm seeing for sure around Amsterdam or maybe back in the US. Or maybe it's just something to accommodate to. Like as you get to know a place socially better and you get to understand the people more, you feel a lot more comfortable and like welcome there, you know.
Okay. All right. So what about like cost of living? I know myself personally, I had this idea that maybe it was too expensive to be here in Japan. What do you have to say about cost of living?
Got the exact opposite. Like coming from the US, God, I came back, I went back to the US for a break in like February or something. And like people are talking about the egg prices, but it's actually nuts. Like I think I saw a carton of egg for like $9 or something. It's pretty fucking crazy. So compared to that here, like I mean, you could pretty much eat out every night and still probably spend like less than $15 a day. Like I think back in Tokyo, like I'm not really cooking for myself as much as I should be. And, I'm still making it by like $15 a day. It's really not too bad. And that's like, more than I would spend in Amsterdam because I'm kind of like on tourist mode a little bit here. Um, but yeah, I think especially if you're trying to just like go to grocery stores, not really spend too much, like you could probably get by for like $6 a day. But in general, like I think that's kind of something, if you're like from America or Europe, especially like Western Europe, and you're kind of looking to vacation out a lot of places in Asia, like Japan, I went to Thailand as well. Things are a lot cheaper than you'd expect, which is really nice because I spent some money when I was trying to travel around Western Europe and like eat out everywhere and do all that. Like it's much easier here, especially than America. I went back and it kind of shocked me, to be honest.
I felt the same way. Like just last year when I went back to Canada, I'm like, what is going on here? I paid like $20 for a medium pizza.
It's crazy.
Because like by the time I got delivered and I got to tip the person, they got tax, and I'm like, what's going on? I said $9, man.
No, it's insane. I mean, I grew up in the US, so I like never had to worry. I never worried a ton about like how much things actually cost when I was younger. Like, when you're like in middle school, you don't really think about it. And then I came back, my couple times on break and I see how expensive things are there. And I'm like, damn, like there's this one pizza place I used to go to as a kid that's like $25 fucking dollars for a pizza. I had no clue when I was younger. And I'm like, I could never afford that now. There's no way.
Yeah. It used to be something quick on the way home you pick up and filling and delicious. And now you got to really, plan it out, what you want to eat. So,
and I know in the past 4 years, it's gotten pretty insane. Like, especially in the US, I know like rent prices and housing has gone up a ton. In the Netherlands, it's, very hard to find a house. Like, I think, I'm not totally sure why, but I think a lot of their city planning, like they try and keep things like very historic and very accessible through the bikes, which is really nice, but then it can be tough to find a place. So all of that compared to here, like you can find an apartment in Tokyo, like central Shinjuku for like 800 a month or something like that. Wow. It's pretty insane in comparison.
That is for sure. So that was one of my misconceptions, the price. Has there been any other like misconceptions or, some kind of stereotype you had when you came here? I was like, whoa, this is very different than what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's been a couple things I actually didn't take into account as much that maybe were more real than I was expecting. Trying to think about any major misconceptions, but I know when I came here, I had heard that there was some kind of thing where it's like, and I'd heard this from one of my Japanese friends, because she grew up here in Tokyo, but she's half Japanese, half American. She'd say that sometimes she'd walk into a restaurant or something and people would like speak English to her immediately, and then she would respond back in Japanese and they'd say like, oh, your Japanese is so good. And she said there was kind of this element of like exclusion almost, like it's sort of this like us, them mentality in the culture. And I have not been here long enough to be able to really say anything, but definitely from what I've noticed compared to the Netherlands, there's kind of this cultural like, happy you're here, happy you're exploring our country and seeing all that, but like, you're definitely not in the Japanese like culture and group, which I don't think I felt as much in, I guess, the Netherlands or around Europe when I was traveling there, which I mean, again, I'm a visitor here, so I've got no room to judge on anything.
You think a lot of that has to come from the fact that you kind of look Dutch, for example?
I can see that.
Somebody might like, he's one of us compared to a visible minority here.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I mean, I've heard, like there are people who will travel around, especially like I've heard some stuff in Italy or like Southern Europe in general. And, because you don't look like you might be from there, it's much harder to actually like get into the culture and like there's definitely a lot of prejudice from that. So I think that is kind of like, that's almost some privilege that I'll kind of feel probably in Western Europe where I can go there and people are like, oh, maybe he speaks Dutch, maybe he's like from around here, or just generally is not as thought of. Whereas like, if you're somebody who's like a person of color around Italy, I've heard it's much different. So I could see that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here right now, what brought you to Issei specifically as staying at this guest house, for example?
Yeah, I had a really good luck. Like 2 weekends ago, I just like picked somewhere on the map. I like pulled up Google Maps and I just like picked an area and I was like, okay, I'm going to book a hostel there and just check it out. And it was in, I'm always forgetting the name of this place. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, take your time.
But, I booked this hostel up in this prefecture, like just north of Sendai. Let me find it real quick. It's called Yamagata. And I literally just picked on the map and I booked it and I saw these like two temples right in the
Hmm.
mountains. I'm a big hiker, like, so I'm going to go to today. And, it was absolutely gorgeous when I got up. It was super, super sick. And it was like, not anything I'd heard of on some like tourist recommended thing. I just like picked a spot. So I did it again and I ended up right here in Ise. And I actually think this is a bit more like known for tourists than I had expected. It's like the most important Shinto shrine is right up in, Ise Jingu, like 20 minutes out from here, which I'm going to see today.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, what are the chances, right? Like,
yeah.
cause I came here from an opportunity presented itself
Mhm.
and on the map and just around town it's pretty small, but then you realize, oh, there's a bunch of tourists because of the two specific, really
Yeah.
important shrines.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Which I had no clue about. So I'm sure a lot of people here have like known about it and were planning for all that.
yeah.
And I'm lucky I can see it having just like
Yeah, you and I just
picked it.
plopping in here, pretend like we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
lastly, any advice for someone that's considering Japan? What would you tell them?
I'd say it's actually really helpful to learn some Japanese before you come. I think people appreciate it a lot. Like, I'll catch myself being like, the stereotypical, like, disrespectful tourist sometimes walking into a place and just like speaking English immediately, which I should catch myself on for sure. Cause I don't speak any Japanese. So when I walk into a place, I'm like expecting, I don't know. I don't know how to say what I want to say in Japanese, but then the way it comes off is like, maybe you're not, kind of respecting the culture as much as you should, or like, I don't know. I think there's just a sense of like understanding that you're a guest somewhere. So trying to make it as easy as possible to like accommodate for the people who are there, showing that you want to respect the culture, that you care a little bit about
Hmm.
learning about where you're at. And also, English proficiency here, I don't think is to the level that it is in, like other, I guess, maybe more touristy parts of the world. So I'd
Yeah.
say learning some Japanese will go a long way. I think it's really appreciated by people here. It's something I need to do a lot more. And honestly, like, there's a lot of things in Japan that you can see outside of just Tokyo and Kyoto. Like I was doing some snowboarding earlier in Niigata Prefecture. I went down to Nagano. There's some really gorgeous stuff in Hokkaido. Yamagata here up in Ise. Fukuoka I've heard is incredible. There's these spots around that I think tourists don't go to as much. For sure see Tokyo, Kyoto. Kyoto is like one of my favorite places in the world now. It's super incredible. But there's a ton to see outside of those areas. I mean, Japan is like full of so much like culture and experience. It's pretty wild. So come out to some of the more I don't know, the lesser known areas. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you and thank you.
Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what do you think of his experience in Japan. And if you've ever been to Japan, leave your thoughts down below regarding your experience. Anything you want to share. If you take time to write it, I'll take time to respond. And if you enjoyed that video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.